Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig
Good morning, everybody. This is Peter, 264 Entertainment coming at you live right now, but it is actually 1:38 in the morning. I'm recording this a little bit early. It is week 7, NFL season already in play. Time to make those picks for the week. Real quick, going to congratulate the New York Mets and the Kansas City Royals for making the World Series. Unfortunately, it was not the Cubs in there like I would have liked, but hey, at least the Toronto Blue Jays aren't in there, so let's go KC. Crazy day in college football. Florida State loses very much the same way as Michigan did last week with Michigan State. I'm having a hard time. I'm not even really that mad. I should be, but I knew a loss was coming. Next season's the year for the Seminoles, but anyway, we'll move on. This is not a regular sports show this week. It is just a video for the picks, so let's, without further ado, let's get right into the facts. Went 8-6 last week. Not a great week, but it's still a winning week, 8-6, so that's all right. I can take that. That brings the overall record of mine to 56-35. I'm also okay with that. If you're watching this video or looking at the post for these picks, go ahead, feel free to post your own picks on here as well. They're always welcome and always appreciated as well. Like to have some good discussions on these. Don't be afraid to make comments, and we'll always get back to you. So, what do we got going on this week? Well, we got the second London game going on here in about 8 hours. Should have kickoff here. Jacksonville and Buffalo. I believe Jacksonville's actually the home team. Back to real quick though, it's the Thursday night game was a real doozy. It was a horrible game. It was expected to be a horrible game, and it's exactly what we got. Seattle won that easily. Of course, I had Seattle over the 49ers. The 49ers are just in Kaepernick. They're just horrible right now. So you had the Seattle Seahawks over the 49ers on Thursday night in a very uneventful game. First up again, this game coming up in about 8 hours, or depending on what time you're watching it, this video. It is the Jaguars and the Bills at 9:30 in the morning. They're in London, and I'm going to take, and this is my upset special of the week. Not a big one to call an upset on, but I'm going to pick Jacksonville here over the Bills. Bills have some vulnerability in that secondary. Blake Bortles has actually been playing quite well for Jacksonville. Jacksonville's going to have some trouble running the ball. T.J. Yeldon's a little banged up. Denard Robinson's back, but I like the Jaguars' passing game. Bortles is getting better. He's putting up some decent numbers. So and the Bills have shown that they're vulnerable to the pass. So I'm going to go with the Jaguars in an upset over the Bills. Next up, we have the home St. Louis, at least for now, Rams over. Picking them over the Cleveland Browns today. The Rams are at home, which for right now is in St. Louis. But if you've been paying attention, come January, the owners are going to vote on what teams are going to have in L.A. There could be as many as 2. San Diego Chargers being the first team that's going to go ahead and put in their petition to be able to move. So it's getting very interesting. And I believe, honestly, the second team, it's probably going to be the Raiders. The Rams, I also think, are a good possibility. We're going to have to find out, but I digress. Next up, we got the home team, Detroit Lions, and the Minnesota Vikings coming to town. Detroit played really well last week, but I'm going to go ahead and take the Vikings this week. Now, it has been reported that Adrian Peterson is ill or was ill, so I'm going to have to keep an eye on that. If Adrian Peterson doesn't play for some reason, I reserve the fact to change this pick, but I'm going to stick with it, and I'm going to take Minnesota over the Detroit Lions. Also at home, you have the Miami Dolphins coming to town with the Houston Texans. I'm going to go ahead and go with the Dolphins in this one. Dolphins coming off the bye with the new coach last week looked really inspired, playing that Dolphin defense that hasn't shown up for the first 6 weeks, and played like we kind of expected that they will. The Texans are just a bad football team right now. Their defense can't get anything going either, so I'm going to take the Dolphins at home. Next up, this could be a barn burner, quite a shootout. Get the Saints coming to town to face the Indianapolis Colts. We all saw what happened with the Colts' blunder last week. I'm sure they're going to want to redeem themselves, especially at home this week. I expect to hear some boo birds for this game. But the Saints are a really bad football team. Anybody want to wonder why the Patriots got rid of Browner? Well, all you got to do is look at the rankings for all the corners in the league right now. Out of the 109 cornerbacks that are playing right now in the NFL, Browner is 109th ranked corner in the league right now. So the Patriots do know what they're doing, folks, sometimes. But I'm going to go with the Colts here at home to rebound, and I look for the Colts to put up some big numbers. This Saints secondary is, like I said, they're bad. Look for some big games. I'm going to go with Moncrief as for a big game here for the Colts today. Andrew Luck also being able to do some damage. He looked pretty good against the Patriots last week. Next up, got the Steelers coming to town to face the Kansas City Chiefs. That Chiefs offense is a mess, and with Jamal Charles out, it's just even more of a mess. They just can't get anything going. The Steelers have been surprising, playing well, and it looks like Landry Jones is going to get the start for them, who came in to spell Michael Vick last week. Had he not come in and spelled Michael Vick last week, I believe that the Steelers would not have won that game against the Cardinals, but Landry Jones was awesome. He put a whole different dynamic on that offense. Of course, he had nothing to lose. Looked really well. And, of course, Martavis Bryant, who made his return from his suspension, had a big game for the Steelers. Although it's a rookie quarterback, the Chiefs' offense is just bad. And the Chiefs are at home. That's going to give them a little bit of a boost, I think. This game could be close, but I like the Steelers in this one, so I'm going to go with the Steelers taking the Chiefs at home. And next up is the matchup I'm waiting for, of course. Another 1 o'clock game. The hometown Pats and the New York Jets. Of course, I'm going with the Patriots in this one. Patriots are at home. This is not going to be an easy one, though. Jets defense is good. Jets are 4-1. Patriots are 5-0. So this will be for first place, a first place tie, or a 2-game lead for the Patriots. So the Patriots just play better at home. And although I do believe the Jets have a chance in this game, I think Fitzpatrick has been a pretty good play for the Jets this season. I think the Jets will play them close. They usually do, and I look for this to be a close game and not a very high-scoring game. But I'm going to take the Patriots here, of course. Next up, the other game I'm very interested to watch. Obviously, finally, the Bucs, after a 2-week bye, are back, and they travel up to Washington and to face them. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go with the Bucs this week. I really do. I'm hoping yes, it was the Jaguars they beat a couple weeks ago, but they looked pretty decent doing it. Some signs that the defense was doing some different things. Now they've had a whole bye week, so they've had 2 more weeks to kind of prepare. Hopefully clean up some things, clean up the penalties, keep Doug Martin running the ball. Don't put too much pressure on Jameis Winston having to do a whole lot. But I'm looking for a little bit of that to happen. I'm looking for them to open up things a little bit more. I'm looking for Mike Evans to finally get the ball. I'm actually hoping for Mike Evans to get the ball, Doug Martin to get a big game, and Jameis hopefully to continue to look improved. So I'm going with the Bucs in this one. Next up, we got the Atlanta Falcons against the Tennessee Titans. Titans are at home. It's not going to be enough. Zach Mettenberger will be getting the start over Marcus Mariota. Got to tell you, Mettenberger, he's not a bad quarterback either. He could probably start for a couple of teams in the NFL. I would hope that Tennessee will afford him the opportunity to leave after this season, because I think he's good enough to play, and he probably should should have been the starter for this team, and they should not have gone after Mariota. I'm not saying Mariota's not going to work out. He very well may. And looked pretty decent, but he's starting to come down. He's starting to really look bad these last couple weeks, and then he got hurt last week. So I look for Tennessee to be able to compete a little bit better with Mettenberger in there. But I like the Falcons to feast on that Tennessee team, put up some big numbers. Devontae Freeman, Julio Jones, get some things going on that offense. Next up, as we just talked about briefly, the hometown San Diego Chargers, which could very well be the LA Chargers after this season. Got the Raiders coming to town. I'm going to say the winner of this game goes to LA. So I'm going to pick the Chargers in this one over the Raiders. The Raiders just aren't quite getting some of the things going that they were earlier. Davis Murray they need to get him going. David Carr needs to get working. But I like the Chargers in this one. Chargers, unfortunately, lost a tough one last week. Rivers thrown for 500 yards and losing. Go figure that. Next up, the big slate game tomorrow also. Big NFC East battle. Giants coming off a horrific performance against the Eagles last week. Thankfully, because it helped me win fantasy. But I like the Cowboys over the Giants, even though the Giants are at home. I just don't like what I saw from the Giants last week, but what I did see from them was about what I've been expecting. The Cowboys defensively, of course, although the Patriots put a whipping on them early on, they looked good with Greg Hardy in there and McLean. Excuse me. It's a quarter to 2, so forgive me for stuttering a little bit. Rolando McLean. So I looked the Cowboys to do some things against the Giants. That offensive line wasn't looking that great, and the Giants just don't have a running game, and that's really hurting them right now. But I do think Odell Beckham can have a pretty big game against that Dallas secondary like they did earlier when they played. Coming up, the last game of the evening, Eagles and the Panthers. Panthers are at home. Panthers, I'm telling you, that I don't know how they're doing it. They just find ways to win. Beat Seattle last week on a last-minute touchdown to Greg Olsen, who just got wide open. Seattle just has a problem covering tight ends. But the Panthers, Cam Newton is just putting this team on his back and saying, let's go. They've got nothing. They've got him. Jonathan Stewart isn't really running the ball that great. He has an opportunity to do so this week against the Eagles, but I don't know. The Carolina just seems to do it defensively. They just keep themselves in the game close enough where they can make something happen. Cam Newton just makes things happen. Greg Olsen finds ways to get open, and of course, I think Josh Norman's probably one of the best corners in the league. So defensively, Carolina just hangs around long enough, and you give them a shot, and there they are. They're undefeated. But you know what? I'm going to go with the Eagles this week. Just because the Eagles seem to be still not looking great. Bradford has been horrible. I look for this game to be a kind of a dud of a game. I'm not going to be surprised if Carolina wins this game. Honestly, Carolina being undefeated right now just doesn't make a world of sense. It just doesn't. And that's why this is one of those games where it's like the odds makers are going to take what they gave them last week, and they're going to give it right back this week. And that's why I'm going to pull for that. I'm not pulling for, but I think the Eagles will beat the Panthers this week, and could call that an upset. And then the Monday night slate, you've got the home Arizona Cardinals again. Just should have been able to beat that Steeler team last week, but weren't prepared for Landry Jones, and they just definitely had some collapsing moments last week. I don't expect them to do that again at home this week. You got the Ravens. Look for a lot of Arizona points this week. The Ravens are horrible defensively, especially against the pass. And Carson Palmer is on fire. You got Larry Fitzgerald. You got Michael Floyd. You got John Brown. John Brown could be a guy to look for this week. Go ahead, 196 yards out of that 400 plus yards put up against the Steelers last week. So look for the Cardinals to be able to put up big numbers again this week in large numbers. So those are my picks for the week. I want everybody to have a great Sunday today. If you're watching football, great. If you're enjoying it with the family, awesome. Just have a great Sunday. Have a great week. Come back to the Facebook page, 2 Cents Sports and Entertainment. Leave your comments. Post a lot of stuff on there. I'd really like to get a regular show on at some point here, but I need a little help from y'all to kind of give me a boost. So we'll talk to y'all later. Y'all have a great Sunday. See ya.